What's up, guys? Nick Cimarelli here. A question I get all the time is, how do you b-hop? I don't really feel I can answer that effectively without telling you where b-hop comes from. B-hopping is basically a style of jumping that enables you to move faster than just walking, usually with your knife out. Like, if you look at this. As I'm I have the, if you go to your console and hit CL, show, pause, 1, it'll bring up this thing that I already have it enabled in the top left corner, and it shows you how fast you go, what angle you're looking, blah, blah, blah. The main thing we're looking at is your velocity. Right now, running with a Tech 9, you get 240 velocity. If you run with a knife, you get 250. If you run with a gun heavier, so on and so forth, it'll be 200 and, lower numbers like that. What b-hopping is a style of jumping that will help you move faster than that. You want to keep it under 300, though. 300 to 320, unless I'm mistaken. The game is maxed out at that speed. The server max, if you look at it, SV max speed, it'll actually say 320 right here. You can change that in a private game, but in a normal game, it's maxed out either 300 or 320. I'm not totally sure. It doesn't really matter, though. It doesn't change how you b-hop, but you do need to be aware of that because you can't b-hop too well, like with a script or something, or else they'll see you. So let's get right down to it. The reason b-hopping works is because of something called air acceleration. And if you look at it, you have your acceleration as 5.5. That's how fast you move walking. But your air acceleration is set to 12. It's the default for every server. Basically, what that's saying is it's how much you move in the air. Realistically, if you jumped up in the air, you'd be jumping like this. You wouldn't be jumping at all. But in this game, if you hold D or A, if you hold the strafe key, you're actually moving a little bit. And why b-hopping works is because if you're running straight and you strafe a little bit, look at the speed. It shot up to 275, 275, depending on what you do. And b-hopping is a style of jumping that makes you move a little bit faster. That was a small b-hopping. That was, yeah. So, how do I explain it? Basically, you have to jump exactly when you land on the ground. And unfortunately, it's not always the same timing for every server. Why is that? Well, your game runs at a certain tick. A tick rate would be, whatever, how many ticks per second or something to that effect. The regular matchmaking servers that you play on in that Valve owns and CSGO competitive, they run at 64 tick, meaning there's pieces actually missing from what you're playing. That's why when you watch a 16 tick demo, the ones you download, if you do something like you shoot like that and you shoot quickly, it'll literally teleport your crosshair to this and shoot. Or you'll see them shooting like this and getting a headshot over here. It's because it's missing, it's missing so many of those ticks. On servers like ESEA or Face It when you pay for it, or the actual CSGO tournaments, they all run at 128 tick servers. That means that they all run completely smooth. They don't miss anything. I believe the server I'm running at's default is 64. It's a private server. The reason I'm telling you this is because on a 64 tick server, the way you b-hop is jumping just before you hit the ground. Now, the idea of b-hopping is jumping as you hit the ground. But 64 tick lags a teeny tiny bit, which means you have to hit that. I don't know if you don't already know this, but you're going to want to bind your jump to down scroll. If you don't already have it, you want to go to your game settings, keyboard and mouse, and your jump is set to M wheel down. I have it bound to spacebar as well, so that's whatever. That's up to you. But if you're just playing, you're going to, set it real quick, then you want to do it to M wheel down so you can jump a lot easier while you're moving. You're never going to be able to just, you're never going to be able to b-hop by hitting spacebar. It actually takes time to press the spacebar down. It's a struggle. Anyways, you want to do it just before you hit the ground on a 64 tick server. On a 128 tick server, you're going to want to hit it at literally as you're hitting the ground. You don't hit it right before, you hit it as you're hitting the ground because the timing is actually correct on the 128 tick servers. So, on to the next question. A lot of people ask me, where does b-hopping come from? How is it even possible? Well, that goes back to the origin of Counter-Strike, which is like the only game you can do it in besides like Half-Life, right, or most of the Valve games. But Counter-Strike was one of the first mods of a game called Quake. Back in Quake, when there was a mod for it, there was no limit, there was no anything. You could b-hop and literally fly through the entire level untouched. Like, that's how serious it was. So when Half-Life came out and they realized they could do it then, it became a huge problem. I mean, a lot of the servers that the actual like pros played on, they nerfed b-hopping a lot, but most of the regular servers, because Counter-Strike 1.6 and Counter-Strike Source, they're only run off of community servers. There is no Valve servers for those. There's only community servers. So those people didn't think to change the air acceleration or the max speed. Like they didn't think to adjust it so you couldn't b-hop at all. They just left it, and people took advantage of that. Counter-Strike 1.6, when it was ported over to Steam, and Counter-Strike Source were like the two most hacked games ever because everybody wanted to b-hop and everybody wanted to be able to do it. And the biggest problem was in Source, because I mean 1.6 was good for a little while, but it wasn't really amazing of a game until Source came out. Was when it was like good, and then Counter-Strike Go came out, and then it was taking everything good about like Call of Duty and all those. It was making like an official game for Counter-Strike, and it was just so much better than Source. So that's why I eventually myself put it over as well. But anyways, in Source, it became such a problem because it's called air strafing. You can literally jump in the air and you're flying through the air straight. It's impossible. It's physically impossible. But for whatever reason, the engine the Havoc's engine that runs for Counter-Strike Source lets you do that. That's why in CSGO they had to stop you from doing it. So they did max your speed at a certain speed. They did have to change the air acceleration a little bit. They had to change how you moved because you could literally fly around the level like in Source. And even, Quake, you could literally flew around. But I'm saying in Source, you could do that air strafing and just fly through it. People have asked me, is b-hopping good for anything other than just moving fast? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is. B-hopping is good for a number of things, including moving fast. But you're able to, like, move around. If you have that type of control over your mouse and you're jumping all at the same time, you're able to get to places so much quicker than you thought you could before. If you're able to jump around a corner and know what's around the corner and be able to do that, like, knowingly, then it totally improves your gameplay. There's a spot in C tier where you can jump. There's a spot, let's say your car on Dust 2 on A site, and you're stuck there. There's T's pushing you, and you're CT hiding. All you have is a flash. If you throw a flash and it pops and you're able to get across that, if you're able to get across the width of A long in just one jump, or two jumps, should I say, that's really, really good. I mean, if you can get across in the duration of the flash really quickly, then it's such an effective way to move. There's things you haven't even thought of. There's like, you can use it to your advantage in so many ways. You can jump around an object. Like, you can be running away from somebody, spin around like Naruto and shoot them as they're coming around the corner behind you. You can literally just get places faster. There's a spot, T-spawn. You have to jump on the edge of the box, run, and if you never stop running, if you just do it all in one fell swoop, you're able to jump on the box and then jump into T-spawn way faster than you ever would have if you ran all the way around. It's just, b-hopping is such a good thing to learn. It's definitely worth learning, even if you don't just b-hop, even if you aren't the best at b-hopping specifically to move faster, it just improves your gameplay by 100. It's amazing. Well, that pretty much concludes my video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Nick Morelli or t0ggles. Come visit my stream, and I hope you enjoyed the video.